You're live. Okay, hope you're live. You don't know what's going on with this thumbnail. We'll see. Yesterday's video, and nobody's watched it yet, I went in a pretty deep dive on the railroad style overalls that I just got, and of course I make the distinction between overalls and coveralls, which typically have a zipper and a collar and are meant to cover your entire outfit, whereas overalls, or overhauls as they were, sometimes called by certain folk singers in the 30s and 40s, have an apron front with suspender closures, and typically a front pocket on the bib as opposed to just regular chest pockets and that kind of thing. Both should have hand pockets. Yesterday I did a bit, well, when it was recorded, I did a bit of a try on of both of these. So if you want to see that, you'll have to go back and watch the previous video. I'm not going to go through all of that because I already know that the older ones that I already have that I'm going to discuss a bit are all about a size too small. So I know I can wear them, but I know they're kind of tight and awkward to get on and off and all that. And I don't have every single brand model of every single type of bib or overall ever offered or created, but I do have obviously a pretty good selection. These original three I must have mentioned when I did, let me go back here, episode number 243, the homemade bibs, one where I showed the two that I basically made mostly for painting because I wanted to save these had already gotten some paint on them, and I wanted to save them for doing more chores around the house and stuff. And so I made those two pairs that I don't really need most of the time, but that get worn more now more often than these. And of course I plan to change that in the coming days, because what's more practical menswear in the history of menswear maybe than the classic bib overalls? Not too much, even if you don't think they're stylish or whatever. They come in and out of fashion a bit. In the 70s, like I was saying in the previous video, which was episode number 269, in those days, they were very popular in the, I don't know, sorry, making a note, the Miller's Outposts and those kind of stores. I don't know how much they were actually selling compared to how much they were offering, but it was definitely a fashion trend again in the late 80s or the early 90s, where you would wear the bibs unattached and hanging down and the straps dangling down the back. I never wore them like that. I had a pair, I think, but I always wore them. Excuse me. My sinuses are a little clogged all of a sudden. So in the 90s, I think these were issued. Don't tell me when, or don't ask me when. I didn't get these until the early 2000s at a thrift store. I don't know if all three pair came from the same person. I'm pretty sure the other two did come from the same person, and these being the same size might have been a coincidence. But I did have these hemmed at a tailor, so they're not the same length. Not that that would matter to you, the viewer, at all, but of course, that's something you can do with jeans, which we'll get into in a minute. So these were a Cherokee, which is a brand from Target, I think. And size large, so I can still, like I said, I can still squeeze in them reasonably well. I don't think I have to mess with the side buttons too much. And it has a third side button. Some will have only two. They have inset pockets, same as the 2 pairs from yesterday's video, which again, I'll go into them. I'm not going to make a video about overalls and not talk about the overalls. But like I said, I'm not going to jump up and down trying them all on. This one has a divided front pocket, but it would be pretty easy maybe to turn that into one straight pocket, which I've thought about doing. And then the false thing here is sewed completely down. So that's just for, totally just for looks. And it's got like a seam there, and it's got your standard rivet hardware, except in chrome or silver in this case. The buckles are decent, but the straps are not long enough. That's one thing where I've really had to kind of pull them as tight as possible to make them work without the seat going straight up my rear posterior. Just a couple generic back pockets. I think, I took some pictures that I'll post, like I said, in the, well, I didn't say it, but in the description I mentioned that I'll post photos in the community menu. And a back seam and a smaller width here than some of the other models that you'll notice. So these definitely meant to be more of a fashion garment, was really evident right off, but also a nice light wash. Perfect if you were putting on a stage play of Our Town or Tom Sawyer or something, and you really want, or or if you're going to sing at the Hootenanny about the Great Depression or something, you can just wear this as a costume piece pretty easily, but still a functioning pair. No double knees though. I don't have any that have double knees, although I imagine you could find or alter a pair easily enough if that was a feature you so desired. But they did tend to run a bit long, which again, the hemming, because unlike the more current ones that I got, which are fitted sizes, so you're not flying so blind, and again, no carpenter features like extra pockets and that sort of thing, which actually I kind of prefer. Although traditionally I did look at, one of the photos is the Waltons, and Jim Bob or Joe or whoever, one of the younger brothers, his pair, you can see the carpenter loop on the one leg. If you look at that, he doesn't have any extra pockets sewn on, but he definitely does have a carpenter loop. Grandpa is kind of behind him, so you can't really see him. I didn't find very many good pictures of Grandpa on Yahoo. There might be some better pictures elsewhere. But of course, that was a television show, so I don't know how period accurate they were entirely with the costumes, or if they just went to Miller's Outpost and bought all the stuff. But Miller's Outpost had a lot of this kind of thing that wasn't in my size. I could never get the railroad stripe in my size, and I really, really desperately wanted the railroad stripe one, and I couldn't get them. Although at one point I did get a pair of green ones that I want to post that photo, but sometimes YouTube censors my photos if it's of me as a child for some reason. It's nothing, usually anything I would think would be controversial, but there you go. And I thought I shared that Wilford Brimley picture before, so I don't think I'll reshare that one, because I had to crop that one pretty good to get it to work as a thumbnail already. So it doesn't really show much of the overalls as much as but there's one Grandpa picture where he's wearing a flannel shirt, and the picture is really small, so I don't know how that's going to come out on YouTube either. Like I said, I didn't find a ton of great photos on YouTube that I thought I would find a million awesome Waltons pictures, and hardly any. And I didn't look up Uncle Jesse from Dukes of Hazzard either. But so this is the most stripped down version I've found. And again, I would argue that it's a fashion. They cut as many corners as they could to make it as cheaply as they could, just to sell it to whoever might buy the thing. And that was not actually me. I actually, like I said, found it at thrift store. So that was the Cherokee version from the somewhere in the earlier mid 90s probably. And design wise, though, kind of my favorite ones. No getting around it. What do you mean, kinda? Like, yeah, pretty much. It's in the width of the bibs and the placket and thing. Well, we'll have to kind of show you. So this was another company called Union Bay, and I don't recall if they were also from Target or a different store. But here you do see a hammer loop, but not all the extra pockets. So this one very much like more similar to the Walton's younger cast member pair. So you can see Union Bay, that'll show up. This pair, if there's an easy way to do this, I'll try. Not cover everything that I want. Okay, I keep folding them when I should do this. Okay. I figured something out here. Hey, we're unscripted today. We're not reading any notes. We're just going as we go. So you get what you get. Okay. So here and here, can we do it? Can we show both at once? Give a bit proper. I mean, like I said, I have photos, but it's not really working as well as I would like. But anyway, so what you're supposed to be seeing is how much wider these ones are, except my arms are backwards, and how different the yoke is slightly. The over straps not that much longer enough that I don't have to totally tweak the straps to get them to sit properly over the thing. The pocket a little bit different, but not too much. The center divider is a little more. It's got a pencil slot down the middle, so you got even smaller pockets here maybe, but the bib again being slightly wider. I can do it. This is going to be a silly fun video. They're not. I could put it right over the front, maybe. See if you can see any real difference. Only a slightly bit on the wrong side. So they're not. The bibs aren't that much different down the front in terms of width. It's a little bit more in the back. And you can see the Union Bay sticker, and again, size large, not fitted. And at the time, these were made in Hong Kong, which, oh great, now I got that problem. Hong Kong may or may not have been China reverted yet. These were made in, oh, this tag's totally fake. Just to focus on something. I cannot even read that. Thailand. So even back then it was already Thailand. I'm just going to try and be still to get it to focus. Focus. Okay, that's annoying. I had longer videos where that stayed. It doesn't matter. It'll there it goes. So again, we have what looks like a real crotch here, but no zipper, no buttons, no opening. I don't know how much it would cost to have a tailor modify something like that. Probably more than it's worth. Here we only had two buttons. The one rivet broke out, so I ended up just using some string basically on both sides. Oh, so it did originally have 3 buttons on this side. So again, why this person donated them, if they just got sick of them or if they, you know, expired, I don't know. But they had worn these with rolling them slightly and then walking on them. Oh, there it goes finally. So yeah, they were already in thrift store condition by the time I found them, but no holes in the seats. You know, some denim, you know, distressing and whatnot that was from their wear. I've worn them, but not enough to really, you know, damage them. Some of this would have happened likely in the laundry because I know I would have washed these before I wore them. Coming from a thrift store, and again, of course, paint, which is the reason I decommissioned them as my paint pair, which was kind of for fun that I built those other ones more than necessity because, again, I still had these perfectly good for chores and these also perfectly good for chores. And I don't remember what I paid for them, but it was, you know, a thrift store. And so there's a little bit of a decorative stitch on the rear pockets and a little bit of, like I said, kind of extra nonsense going on here. And the inset pockets, again, we have regular jeans kind of pockets, very shallow, not really meant to put your hands in much, just kind of there. Again, these being, I would say, even though they have a little bit more function, you know, aspects of the, you know, maybe the bib and maybe the locker loop and this and that, I would argue these are still a fashion item more than a work item. But again, I think this person didn't wear them for work much. Like I said, the wear mostly seems to be just where they were lazy or that was the style of the saggy pants. Whether or not they ever used the straps, you know, to hold them up, I don't know. Why this was busted out, I don't know, you know. But an easy enough fix. You know, just again, just using a bit of a shoestring rather than really worrying about it. Because I don't typically need to adjust them there to get them on and off. Although, again, like I said, they are a little bit tight. The other pair being the deluxe ones, I never wore these yet, which is kind of shameful because they're nice. But that was the reason I wanted to keep them nice. So I've worn the other two, although, again, mostly these. And like I said, I'm positive I hemmed those other ones. Whether the bottom was totally raggy or not, I don't know. Too long ago to remember. These ones do have a little bit of the same issue from where they wore them. So how much they cuffed them and then walked on them or whatever. They were still used, and obviously they went through their overall phase without really bothering much with this pair. 2 adjustments on that side, 2 adjustments on this side. This time, though, the front we have a, what do you call that, a patch pocket or on the front, or military style, sort of, from the old Army twill pants. We still have the, why is this camera just going to mess with me the whole time? Okay. Almost. You can, oh, there we go. Thank you. And then up the back, same width and length as the other pair. I'm sure they were cut to the exact same specs, just 2 slightly different styles. Why the person felt obligated to own both different ones, I don't know. Like I said, they didn't wear these hardly at all. And then them being all pretty and new and shiny looking, I didn't wear them hardly at all either. So here's an internal tag. Caution, the dyes may rub off on light color fabrics or furniture. This garment contains indigo dye, which may rub off and stain materials which it comes into contact. Wash before wearing. Machine wash cold. Wash separately, inside out. Do not bleach. Tumble dry. Low warm iron. Other tag. Large 100% cotton, made in China. So already Union Bay was made in China back in the 90s. I don't know if there was another tag in either of these. I didn't look. Let's be thorough about product that you may never ever find on eBay. But if you're on the hunt, you might be able to find some of these for, you know, $10 instead of paying 60 or something for some new ones. Who knows? Or maybe the prices will all go up when they decide I'm an influencer all of a sudden, and everybody wants vintage China-made overalls, or Thailand, whatever this one was. Hong Kong, sorry. One was Hong Kong, one was in Thailand or something, right? So yeah, I don't see any extra tags in here. They're already removed those before I ever got the thing. So this one was Hong Kong, and this one was Thailand or whatever. So yeah, all the laundering instructions and such had already been removed. So I'm sure I've washed them in warm and been fine and not worried about it. Yeah, I really can't read this one. It does have laundry on the back, but machine, I can't tell. It might say warm with like colors. Tumble dry low, blah, blah, blah. So this one actually does tell you to wash them in warm, which is kind of funny because I think those are the ones that fit the smallest out of the batch. But so anyway, so the bib, this one coming to the grand, again, we have the fake deal here, but again, we have a decent pocket here. We don't have any side pockets, but we do have a hammer loop. And this pocket, though, has this odd pass through, so you can go up and under. Imagine you could actually drop stuff out of here on accident pretty easy. And then there's an under pocket here that is not very wide. I guess it's for your wrench or screwdriver or something. So this is kind of an odd pocket. One feature I don't like because it's not very big and it's an odd shape, and and this side open and this side seamed, and then the top opened, and then it doesn't have rivets though. It just has bar tacks and Union Bay branding. So a little bit disappointing there, but I think the bibs are basically the same width. I don't, like I said, I don't imagine they use that much of a different pattern for the basic. Everything looks almost the same. The side holes, again, one having 3 and the other one having 2. This one only having 2 and 2. So slightly different, you know, but I don't know if this one was the afterthought. It seems like it, because why change the pocket so much other than just to say it's different? Whereas I'm pretty sure this was probably the basic one modeled after somebody else's brand like this. And then this one, they got clever. Unless this came from a more vintage pattern that I'm just not familiar with. Again, this Napoleon thing, I would be tempted to have a tailor close this now that I'm looking at it again, and then just kind of having to suck it up with not having much to be able to do with this, but at least not having to worry about it. Whatever I might put in there, shooting right out the side as soon as I move. Don't know. And then of course the back pocket's way too big for a standard wallet for me to really like think about putting that comfortably. You almost want to put your wallet in a shirt pocket or something if possible. But the denim, all 3 of them, this being more close to the texture of a pair of Lee jeans, this being a little more of a rigid feel, but they're definitely not, what do you call the hard denim or the crosshatch denim, or, you know, it's still, Yeah, I think, well, you can see the lines a bit. I'm not sure what you want to call that weave. It's not quite a canvas weave, right? But it's probably like 11 or 12 ounces or whatever, somewhere in there. And this is same, I assume. I don't think this would be too much thicker than those. But this one, it looks a lot more like a, if I can get the camera to cooperate once again, more like a pair of 501s. Whereas these are maybe a little bit more, they're not quite like the Denizen ones, but kinda-ish. Anyway, so that's those denim pairs. So this video is going on a bit long, but hemming on. Anyway, so to come back to these, which, as I talked about yesterday, again, they are a fitted size. This is the Big Smith. The fabric a little bit lighter weight than the Key apparel. But overall, I like this design slightly better, although these did not come in a 29. They only came in a 30. So I had a little bit longer length, but they're not really that much longer, and I don't know if they'll shrink. And this does have an extra phone pocket here below the loop. And then, like I said, carpenter pockets there. This one, you can see where the bib is a little bit wider than those other ones, where it really comes out the sides. But of course, also this would be an extra large, not large, so should be bigger overall to fit big guy. So there's your bib with the dividing and the brass hardware instead of the or shiny instead of the chrome or whatever the other one had. And the back pattern, a bit less of the same kind of, there's still kind of a triangle going on, but it's a very small triangle here as opposed to those other ones, but in a little bit narrower, more similar to the Cherokee than the Union Bay perhaps in the back, but then much wider in the front. So give and take a little bit. This one having these two extra screwdriver slots or whatever on the front, and real zippers, real opening. This one having the zipper that I think was a little bit nicer of the two. The railroad stripes, of course, being a slightly lighter weight fabric, but with slightly different weave, and then of course the hemming and blah blah blah. But still claimed to be 100% cotton. I thought I felt a little bit of stretchiness to one of the pairs. That might just be the cut of the cloth on the bias. So I could feel it when I was putting them on that these do stretch a little bit, probably a lot more than I was ever going to feel with this denim. Yeah, this is not stretchy really at all. This is not cut on the bias, and or not as noticeably so anyway. A little bit more stretch to this one, a tiny bit, but for the most part, yeah, a little bit lighter weight fabric, a little bit more stretch here. So I don't know how well these adjusters will hold over time, if they just stay in place like they're supposed to, or if they slide around and annoy you through the day. Haven't really worn them for more than an hour yet, obviously. But I did wear them around the house a little bit. The tag got ripped, but I wasn't like doing anything in them except watching TV. So this pair, I forget what they were. They were less than the denim ones at Boot Barn, though, in the $40 range on Amazon. You can maybe find them, for oh, here's a pocket that I didn't notice either down the front. How they've sorted that is with this. So here's a bonus thing that I didn't show in yesterday's video. And then, of course, the hand pockets are inset. Not like those army flap pockets on the one pair. So yeah, you've got a little, it's too narrow to be a real proper watch pocket. I don't know what you can put in there, but somebody will have a use for it. I don't know if I do. At least not at the moment. And here we go. What? Nope. Here we go. The tag. So this one's easy to read. It's white and black. 100% cotton. Made in Vietnam. We already covered that yesterday. Exclusive of decoration. Which would be, I guess this stuff is not cotton. Machine wash cold with light colors. Only non-chlorine bleach. When needed, tumble dry low, medium iron. And that in 4 languages. So that's about it for this pair. That I mean, it's a pretty straightforward garment. I don't know what else I need to, really mention, but so yeah, that's the Big Smith. And so if you have experience with those, you can let me know how they perform. These are the Key apparel. Literally almost the same exact thing, but with slightly different. The fabric's a little heavier, the dot's a little darker. The hems are a little more noticeable, I guess. And what you want to compare that to, apart from the other pair? we do have a hammer loop. It's maybe a little bit wimpier than the other one, but I don't know which one will hold a hammer better. I got almost the exact same size, but it's slightly shorter length, and they fit me pretty good as I tried them on in the previous video. And here's your sticker that I'll read again. Hickory stripe overall. Work is tough. Key is tougher. Adjustable shoulder straps, one would hope. True diamondback construction. Trademark bib pocket design. The bib I'll discuss more with this one than that one. Button side closures. Oh, I didn't count the button side of the closures. This one has 2 on one side, kind of far apart, and 2 on the other side, but probably functional enough for, again, I don't typically need that kind of thing. Double utility pockets on right legs. 100% cotton, 11.5 ounce fabric. So again, a little bit lighter weight than some jeans, but still a bit heavier feeling than those other railroad stripe ones. Triple needle stitched. I didn't look at the stitching on these. Triple needles. Some places they seem to at least be double. So maybe Key has, no, there's triple down here. This is triple. Maybe they have better stitching in some spots, though. A bunch of this looks more like double stitching, but I'm sure this has single and double in places. Yeah, the pocket has double stitching. The side down here has triple. Yeah. So your legs and your crotch, I'm sure they both pretty much the same exactly. Like I said, so this bib being the same width as the other one, but with slightly different features. This one has this weird buttonhole here instead of 2 buttonholes like the other one. This one has this flat pocket that I'm not crazy about. This one, I don't know how easy it's going to be removed, this branding. They seem to have put it on there really dedicated on purpose. We do have a real crotch with a real zipper, but I didn't like this zipper as much, I didn't think. Although it might be a YKK, I'm not sure if it was real or not. The Key buttons and the brass hardware being a little bit prettier color than that shiny stuff. Like I said, I didn't go into every feature on this bib, but this one does have 2 buttonholes up here for some reason. I don't know why, and the branding is much smaller and easier to remove probably. But the width of the bibs, I think, is exactly the same. Let's see. So they're both not going to sit quite as flush because I have a bit of a belly, as I might like, and they're both a little bit wider for my waist than I might feel I need or whatever. But so then on the back, what they're talking about, this, you can really see the triangle here though, as opposed to those other ones where the triangle is very small. But again, they all kind of come to this point instead of the Union Bay ones. So a little bit different. Like I said, the back of this one being a little bit closer to the Cherokee, and this one being kind of its own animal entirely. And so I'm not sure it's comfortable much to expect out of these as those, because I haven't worn them around the house yet. I guess that'll be my project for today, is to wear the key bibs instead. See how it goes. But obviously I didn't want to wear any of these pairs while I was doing a video, because it's just too much to take them on and off and all that. So yeah, I'm not sure what else to really add or amend. I mean, like I said, there's the Carhartt ones with the duck fabric, the heavy duty. There's insulated ones that aren't really technically the same thing. They're more of a blizzard precaution thing. For a lot of people, they leave them in their car and don't even use them as workwear. They just use them, you know, in case they get stranded or something in Michigan or Minnesota or something. Wisconsin's, at least that was according to somebody I talked to on the phone 25 years ago or something, when I was ordering stuff from Granger maybe. And he had mentioned that, or it might have been Cabela's. He had mentioned that he always has a pair of bibs in his trunk, but he's fortunately never had to use them. And he didn't mean these, you know. So again, you know, not the same exact thing as coveralls, which are more of a mechanic thing than a farm tractor plowboy thing, or whatever you want to call it. But of course, a woodworking craftsman could, you know, use these other things. You know, you don't have to be driving a train to wear these. Although I still got them, you know, a fair amount. Same as this for fashion, because I just like the look of them, and I don't necessarily have to use them for my heavy chores, because if I have any heavy chores, I'll probably go to these. But then if it's warmer weather and I want the lighter weight fabric and I don't worry about messing them up, I ended up with an extra pair of these. Now, the thing was, you might have missed the sale already. I don't remember exactly how much these were off, but I think it was roughly $10 for every item. So I'd gotten three key pants for about $100. So I got the double knee logger jeans, the duck relaxed fit canvas with also the double knee. These, I don't like the low rise. I don't know how the fabric is compared to Carhartt and some of the other brands. But for the sale price, I figured, okay, I'll try them out. These are very heavy. Even if you put a double knee on any of these other ones, I don't think they'd still be as heavy as these pants. But of course, trying to put a double knee on these would be a little trickier to find matching fabric. If you wanted to just put denim or something on there for the durability and ruin the look a little bit, you could easily do that. But none of these that I've seen typically come with reinforced knees. So that's a thing to think about. And they do work a lot better with, you know, boots with some kind of heel than they typically do with sneakers or tennis shoes, because I'm pretty sure that's the reason why the guy has all those holes in the back of his, is that he was not wearing any kind of boot or, again, do any kind of work. So if he was doing some kind of work, he probably should have taken them to the tailor and wore a shoe with an actual heel. Okay, so I'm going to wrap that up now. I don't know what else I could possibly mention. That if I forgot something about Tom Sawyer and Huckleberry Finn or something, I don't know. You'll let me know in the comments if you got this far. So, and I plan to steamroll out a couple more videos today, so hopefully somebody will get around to watching this one eventually. See how it goes.